The two questions that seem to be going around the internet right now are, one, should Tesla advertise? And two, should Tesla lower their prices more or stop lowering their prices and advertise instead? I'm going to try to answer the question about advertising, and it'll take into consideration the issue of lowering price. This is Randy Kirk, and if you haven't done this before, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notify button, and even if you've done the like button before, like it if this is content that would be useful to you, or if you just find my wacky ways entertaining. So, oh, and by the way, I do need more Patreon support. Things are getting better and better. The advertising is getting higher and higher, and the Patreon support is getting better. But I need more. It's not quite paying me what I think I'm worth. So let's dive into the subject of the day. Should Tesla advertise? And I've got 10 reasons why they should. And I'm sorry, 10 reasons why they shouldn't, and 3 reasons why they should. And by the way, I know I offered in the headline that this would be by an expert on advertising and marketing. Well, I've spent my entire career, and then going back behind my career, I was already doing advertising and marketing even in my teens. So this is pretty much selling, advertising, marketing. That's what I've done for all of the years, which we won't mention exactly how many that is. All right. So the demand, number one, let's go with number one. The demand for quality BEVs is going to enter an S-curve. Tony Seba, Cathie Wood, Elon Musk, me, and others all have been talking about this for a very long time. As the electric cars are near or at parity, when that parity time happens, and maybe it's already here, maybe it's going to happen in the next 6 months to a year, when it's parity, when it's the same price in terms of what the car has in its capabilities and its look, and whether it's, all the stuff. So it's at parity on the sticker, then it will be a no-brainer for the public to buy electric over ICE. That point is coming up very, very quickly. And when it does, the S-curve will happen. ICE cars will be out. I believe by the end of 2027, there will be no ICE cars, or maybe a few niche ICE cars made, but almost no ICE cars made around the world. And so when that S-curve takes place, what do you think is going to happen? Well, the demand will be off the charts, and there won't be anybody that makes a quality, compelling EV at a compelling price will sell all that they can make. Therefore, Tesla, being in the lead, would be the one that would sell all they can make before the others even get their shot. Okay, so that would be reason number one is the demand is just off the charts for years into the future, and therefore there's really no reason to advertise. And I think that's the strongest reason right there. Number two, Tesla has already established itself as one of the most valuable brands in the world of any product, not just of automobiles, but of any product. It's right up there at the top as being a very valuable brand. Well, they're clearly identified in the consumer's mind with quality electric cars and with performance and with safety, all the kinds of things that have caused Tesla to become what they are today. So that's commonly what you're advertising about. You're advertising about your performance, or in automobile world, that might be safety, and you're trying to get brand awareness. Well, those things are kind of done, are taken care of, at least in the major automobile markets for sure. Number three, Tesla has historically sold every single car at full production that they could possibly make. So they're making them as fast as they can, and they're selling all of them that they can. And that would, using history as a guide, that would suggest, why would you waste your money on advertising if you're selling every vehicle you can make without advertising? Help me with the logic there. Tell me, if you're selling, if that's your history, what would you have to see in the future that would cause you to say, we now need to advertise when we've sold every car we could possibly make? There are things that could happen in the future. Let's face it. We could have a recession. We could have a new car that would come along that would just really disrupt Tesla. Unlikely. Or we could have some kind of, the TAM could be exhausted. There are just not enough people in the price category. So there's all kinds of things that could happen, but they haven't happened yet. So should you start advertising in advance of that? Well, I think only time you would start advertising in advance of that future possibility is when you believe that that's a possibility. I don't think Tesla think that's a possibility yet. I think they see that by reducing the price of the car, they can generate this larger TAM rather than advertising to the existing TAM. Advertising to the TAM that can't afford it isn't going to change anything, as Elon said in a tweet the other day. 4, Tesla already has the best marketing that money can buy. Anybody that's in marketing, anybody that's in advertising, anybody that's in sales knows that the number one advertising approach is always going to be WOM. If you don't know marketing, that's word of mouth. Word of mouth is substantially, there's no comparison to any other kind of marketing that you could ask for. If people who have purchased your product are working as ambassadors and telling their friends and neighbors that they ought to buy the car, whatever the product is, that's way better than any advertising, promotion, any other kind of methods that you can possibly think of. So word of mouth right now on Tesla continues to be amazing. Every single owner is a brand ambassador, eager to sell their neighbor. And they are, so as you add more owners, you add more people that are out there selling the brand. So if we're going to add another 2 million people, according to me, 2.21 million people that own Teslas this year, that'll be 2.21 million more folks out there talking about Tesla. Number 5, a good reason to suspect that Elon is correct that the best way to move more metal is to lower prices. If you already have a solid percentage of those who are in your TAM, if they've already bought it. So that's pretty easy to determine. You can do a lot of analysis of what percentage of the TAM is already a buyer, and is there a lot of those folks that you can still go after, and what is their resistance? My guess would be that we have definitely skimmed the cream, as they call it in marketing. We've skimmed the cream of the early adopters. We've skimmed the cream of the folks who want to do it to make a statement about environmentalism. We've skimmed the cream of those who are wanting to show that they're with it. They're just cool folks that want to be identified with a quality luxury car. There's a whole bunch of reasons why the first round of people are currently buying Teslas. We've probably got a lot of those folks that have already made their move. That doesn't mean there's millions more to sell to, but what it means is that advertising to that group is probably not going to be that helpful. You want to advertise to folks that are not yet in on the kinds of things that they're looking for in a car. So we'll talk about how you might attack that here in a second. They probably have, so number 6, Tesla, I actually, in my notes here, I said probably. Now I'm going to change that. Tesla has the most valuable free marketing army ever assembled. I'm convinced of that. If you can think of another free advertising army the size of Tesla's that's ever existed, please put it in the comments below. You know I answer your comments. You know I love your comments. So many YouTubers, so many podcasters, so many bloggers, so many people that are just out there talking to the community about what Tesla is doing. It is an amazing army, all working for free. And do you think that my voice talking about Tesla is going to be more persuasive than an ad? You'd be right. It definitely is. And that's not because it's Randy. It's because I am just somebody out there doing it for free or for some advertising money. This free advertising, this free group can be discounted a little bit because we're called, fanboys and whatnot, but still it's way more authentic than advertising and way more valuable. Number 7, Elon is a PR genius. Almost no day goes by without Tesla in the headlines. Think about it. When was the last time you've gone through a whole day where Tesla wasn't making news? Now, sometimes that news is negative. Sometimes that news is positive. Sometimes it's kind of neutral. They're in the news every single day. There's almost no brand you can think of in any other world that is in the news. In fact, I'd be hard pressed. I bet you we can run an analysis of that. With somebody that knows how to do that, and let me know in the comments below. Is Tesla the #1 most talked about brand of any kind that's being discussed on a regular basis online, in newspapers, in magazines, et cetera. I think there's, maybe the Kardashians, I don't know. Anyway, so Elon has already got the product in the headlines every single day. And those of you who know marketing know that PR is 10 times more valuable than advertising by the inch. Now, it's not always an inch, but that's kind of the way we look at it. So if you can get yourself in the news, that's always the way to do it. And again, another one of Elon's superpowers is getting Tesla in the news every single day. Number 8, Twitter. Elon on Twitter may have good days. It may have bad days. It may have other kinds of days. But there's no other CEO that I know of ever in history that has the ability to reach out to over 120 million followers, to provide them with an update, to ask a question, to respond to some kind of an issue, positive or negative, just to be in the conversation. And he doesn't limit the conversation. So that's number 9. He doesn't limit the conversation to Twitter, but he also does Twitter Spaces. He does interviews, long form interviews that are very personal and fun and friendly. Interviews takes interviewers on walks through the factory, on walks through SpaceX, gets to be known as a human being. You just don't have any other CEOs doing this ever. And so it puts him in a league of his own in terms of the impact on the value of the brand, on the value of the company, on the value of his personal brand, and on the way that the cars get sold. And finally, number 10, the advertising budget not having an advertising budget reduces the cost of every car. Therefore, it can give Tesla more pricing power. How many people have been talking about pricing power recently? Some people are beginning to get it, that Tesla has way more pricing power than any other automotive company. And therefore, they can use that pricing power to destroy the ICE business. And that's what they're doing. And it's also part of the mission. Elon has stated clearly, he wants to get the price of all of the cars down as quickly as he possibly can so that we can advance the mission. All right. So there's 10 reasons not to advertise. Now let's look at 3 possible reasons to advertise. And believe me, again, I've spent millions, who knows how many hundreds of millions of dollars over the years on advertising for myself and my clients. So let's start with number 1, a very strategic advertising campaign can be used to bring focus to one or another of the issues that Tesla wants to communicate. A couple of suggestions along that way. A lot of people say, hey, what about safety? Let's just do some educational advertisement about safety, the safety of the cars. A lot of people don't realize, you're never going to reach everybody. So it takes time to get the word out that Teslas are the safest cars out there. So how about getting that word out there? It could be the mission of advancing the world to sustainable energy, getting rid of petroleum products, et cetera. That could be a very strategic ad that could be run. Maybe it would be the performance of the automobiles. A lot of ads that traditional automakers do have to do with performance, showing the car going fast, going around curves, et cetera, et cetera. So there could be performance-oriented ads because I don't know if there's any humans that are still living under a rock with regard to the fact that Teslas can outperform any ICE car, including, $1 million hand-built cars. But anyway, that's a possibility. And then another one would be the supercharger network, because there's still a lot of FUD and stuff out there about whether or not you can go cross country, whether you can, find someplace to charge your car if you're not at home. So those would be some possibilities of ways that you could increase the TAM among your existing demographic that can't afford the car. You might be able to get an increase in that TAM by dispelling some of the myths, some of the misinformation, and some of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt. So that would be strategic, okay? Number 2, you could do a pretty serious ad campaign on very little money. So some people have suggested 100 million, some people have said 50 million, some people have said 10. No to 10. If you're going to do it, 10's not going to do it. So maybe it's a 50, maybe it's 25. You do run out, again, very strategic. You got one subject matter that you want to get across. It's extremely strategic, and it's designed to pull people into the Tesla world. Maybe there's something they need to do, an action that they can take that would allow them to get a discount. I don't know, all kinds of ways you could do this, but a very strategic campaign. 25 million might be enough. 50 would certainly be enough. Number 3, you could use an ad campaign to move specific product. Well, the first thing that came to my mind on that would be, well, you know, S and X, they have some pretty serious competitors in their category. So you might want to call more attention to the S and the X in hopes of reaching that affluent customer that can afford them, who hasn't yet made the decision to go electric. That might be a good use of money. Then there's the Model 3, which we know the Model Y has been cannibalizing some of that Model 3 business, and maybe that's okay. Somebody said in a comment the other day, well, do you really care if the Model Y cannibalizes the Model 3 since it has greater margins and we're making bajillions of them? So maybe not, but if you do want to keep the sedan business alive and thriving, maybe you want to keep it at 500,000 a year, at least as a minimum. Anyway, whatever the reasons might be, maybe you want to push the Model 3 in certain territories like China or some of the countries in Europe or some of the emerging markets that we're just now moving into, like Malaysia, Turkey, et cetera. So that would be another strategic way to do it. Now, the final model approach would be, well, the Model Y, which it will be this year the number one best-selling vehicle in decades, certainly now and in decades. I'm not sure you can ever find a specific single model that has sold as much as Model Y will sell this year. And certainly by 2024, the Model Y will just eclipse any other car in history in terms of total units sold of a single model. Now, maybe again, Model A or Model T or something way back then might, but you know, help me out if I'm way off on this. Give me a comment. I didn't do any research on this other than what I've heard. So but the Model Y, they're going to make 600, 800,000 more Model Ys this year than they did last year. Well, that's a lot. So you might feel like there could come a time when the Model Y itself would need the help. And so you might strategically go after, spend 50 million to strategically try to increase the demand on Model Y. You know, I'm going to throw in a bonus here. I just thought of a great reason not to advertise. And so that makes number 11 on the beginning list. Number 11 would be if you advertise into a demand shortage, you just get yourself back into the situation you had last year, where you start to stretch out the time for people to receive their vehicle after they purchase it. You make people unhappy because they can't get it, and you encourage folks to start getting in there and flipping the cars and making that profit that you could have made as Tesla. So that would be one more reason that just popped into my mind, and there you go, you got a bonus. All right, one last time, please like, please subscribe, please hit the notify button, and then join my Patreon. And as I love to say, it's been great talking to you today.